Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you this episode is brought to you by our patrons like Ahigo Comics, Qua, Kylie Denton, and Esther Flores. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and really help us out. Thanks for your support. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's time once again to talk about Star Wars X-Wing 2nd Edition by Fantasy Flight Games. Yes, they are in fact still releasing that. Today we're going to talk about the Sith Infiltrator. There's the spread right there in the slide that I made. Sorry, this one's a little more delayed than usual. Also, yeah, my chair creaking. They're probably just getting comfortable. Listen, it's hot. Anyway, also, it stormed yesterday and we unexpectedly lost power down here at Studio Mega HQ, so, that's why we're a little later than normal. Probably should have settled in and prepped my chair first, but hey, whatever. This will pad out this segment so you can actually have time to study this slide. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Infiltrator today. That's the big preview, you know, we'll talk about all the pilots and stuff they released. I don't think there's any tangential news going on there, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. Alright, well, let's just go ahead and take a look at the Infiltrator. So, what you're looking at here is you're going to look at 3 attack primary, 1 agility, 6 hull, 4 shields. So, I believe, is the Scimitar, let me double check the article. Well, yeah, Sith Infiltrator pack, but the unique version is the Scimitar. So, I'm thinking, is this a medium base or a large base? I thought it was medium before, but maybe it's large. Okay. Alright, the word large appears twice in the article, and the word medium appears none, so I'm assuming it's a large ship. And there's, because it'll come up, there's the whole thing for large and medium base cloak, which they already planned out in the rules reference, so you don't need to worry about it. We're not going to touch on it. Just go read it yourself. Actions-wise, you've got calculate and or focus, because yes, there's a droid pilot for this, of course. You've got target lock, which is good because there are definitely torpedoes in this pack, so we can be pretty sure this thing can take torpedoes. And it has a red barrel roll as a large ship. Zooming in on that there dial. Let me adjust my microphone arm down slightly so I can see. You got a fairly diverse range of moves. So you've got 1 forward and banks, which are blue, but then you've got 1 turns, which are red. You've got, are those 2 T-rolls? I think those are 2 T-rolls that are red. And you've got, obviously, you know, 1 straight and 1, or 2 straight and 2 banks that are blue, and then 2 turns are white now. And it has 3 white turns, and then the 3 banks are white also, and the 3 straight is blue. The 4 straight is white, and then it's got a 5K. So, not necessarily a slow roller ship. Got a little bit of flexibility. It's got a couple different turnaround rooms with, like, the K, you know, that big old fat 5K. Those are real fun. And then the Talon rolls also. Does have a decent spread of turns, but some of them are red. So, it's not necessarily a tight turner, but it can swing around wide. And that's basically all there is to the core. We'll talk kind of about the pilot assumptions later. The only thing we know is that, obviously, we can be darn sure it has at least 1 crew upgrade. Probably 2, but at least 1 from all of the crew that's in the pack. And thus, we can be reasonably sure that it has torpedoes and cannons, because you can see torpedoes and cannons in the spread. Huh, funny how that works. Anyway, we'll go ahead and we're gonna break from my usual convention. We're gonna talk about the title right away, because that's, once again, kind of a big deal for this. So let's talk about that Scimitar Title. So the Scimitar Title is unique. It is Separatist and Sith Infiltrator only. Huh, who could have guessed? So, it gives you access to a white jam action and a red cloak action. And it reads, setup, after the place forces step, you may cloak. After you decloak, you may choose an enemy ship in your bullseye arc. If you do, it gains 1 jam token. So, the Scimitar Cloaks, it's got a red cloak, but you get a free cloak from your start. After place forces step, you can start cloaked, which is cool. And, so that'll help out your agility problem. Is cloak +1 or +2 agility? I think it's +2. Let me double check. It's been a... Hey, fun fact, it's been a... While I actually own a TIE Phantom, it's been a hot minute since I played with one. So, I need to double check. I'm pretty sure it's 2, but you never know. Let's double check the cloak. Cloak action, yeah, agility is increased by 2, and you are disarmed. You can perform a cloak action against a second cloak token. Okay. So you're cloaked, you have the disarm effect, you can't shoot, but you gain 2 agility, so your agility goes from 1 to 3. That's pretty decent on this thing. And then after you decloak, you can choose an enemy ship to give them a jam token at your bullseye arc. So obviously, jam is an action that is normally a little range limited. It's range 1 now in 2nd edition, so it's normally pretty hard to pull off, but this gives you a way to kind of combo your actions. You can, if you do a decloak, you can drop a jam, which means that the enemy has to worry about their tokens. Basically, they have to remove your green token, or they have to break one of their locks. And if they don't have any of those to get rid of, the jam token stays until they do. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. Depending on the cost of Scimitar, I mean, it's unique, so you'll only ever see more than one on the board, but depending on the cost of Scimitar, you may or may not see it on the Sith Infiltrator all the time. I feel like you're probably going to want that cloak option just so you can get that extra agility. I mean, 10 health, 10... Hold on, let me collect my thoughts for a second. 10 health isn't super high. I know that health has been generally kind of adjusted down in 2nd edition, but, you know, that's, you know, a couple of X-Wings glued together. I think those guys are 5, right? Or are they 6? Shoot. Listen, there's a lot of ships to keep track of. But say, you know, the, yeah, I'm just thinking. So, the Decimator's like 16 health, you know, to put it in comparison. And, let's see, what are some other classic big ships? How much is a Lambda these days? Okay, so it's the same health as a Lambda, and same agility. Actually, same primary, too. Though they have a white jam if you equip the whatchamacallit. So, yeah, well, Lambdas aren't known to be super durable or super expensive. So, if you're gonna take the Scimitar into somebody's teeth, or the Infiltrator, you're gonna want to equip the Scimitar. Otherwise, if you're just gonna use it as basically how you use a Lambda, a very minimalist crew boat, you can probably be okay on just letting it ride and just giving other ships target priority, so you don't have to worry about it so much. You know, jam people when they get too close, that kind of thing. All right, let's go ahead and start talking about those pilots. So first up, we have the generic Dark Courier, Initiative 2. You know, heavily modified, blah, 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 that's yeah, whatever. So this is just a generic-ass pilot shooting some laser beams. I guess that's where lasers are. There's really not a lot to talk about with this guy. We'll probably move on. Just that, obviously, add an I-2 as the only generic pilot. If you are going to just use this as a mobile, like a Dooku mobile or a Sheev mobile, we'll talk about some of that stuff later when we get to the crew, don't you worry. You're not really going to, you know, want to go too much more expensive than this. It's not super impressive, I think, in the, you know, the stat line's very basic, like we said. It's very similar to a Lambda. Hopefully it's not super expensive, you know, and in fact, it doesn't even get some of the utility options that a Lambda has without its title. So it's probably not super expensive, but you got a little bit of flexibility in there. And once again, hopefully with the base chassis being rather minimal, the basic Dark Courier is not too expensive. So with that out of the way, let's talk about our first unique pilot, limited pilot, 066. And yes, I'm pretty sure this is meant to be a 0 because that's how the file name is typed if you save it. So he's 066. So if you want to call him 066, that's probably fine. You know, I'm sure that that's the joke they're going for with his name, because you know, Star Wars is full of jokes. Hey, everybody remember Therm Scissor Punch? Anyway, this guy's unique. He's I3. He's a droid, so he gets Calculate. And that's good for, like, if you're going to do... Because the Separatists obviously have lots of Calculate shenanigans. But, yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, because my mic's actually good, but it's thundering again now, so hopefully we don't lose too much if something happens. But, his ability reads, after you defend, you may spend 1 Calculate token to perform an action. So, I'm not really sure what actions you'd want to do. I guess a cloak after you defend, or maybe you want to jam, but basically on its own, the core actions available to the Infiltrator aren't really impressive, so I don't know what you'd be doing after you get shot that you're going to be like, Well, I calculated. Now I guess I really want a target lock, right? I mean, he's I3, and this thing can take torpedoes, we're pretty sure, because they're in the spread. So you could turn it into like, oh, I calculated up so that I'd be safe, but I didn't need to. You know, the enemy whiffed or whatever, so I can now take a target lock and I can shoot. But I don't know. It's kind of wiggly. I'm not. The synergies just on its own don't come out to me. I expect he's going to go well with some of these crew cards we'll get into later. At least one of them, anyway, who has a different action that might be interesting to drop in the middle of the combat phase. But whatever, we'll see. On his own, you know, he's a slight jump in initiative. Like I said, he's got Calculate, so if you have any synergy with other ships in your list that use Calculate tokens, that may be helpful. And you can probably do some weird stuff that doesn't occur to me off the top of my head. So after Route 66 there, we have another Initiative 3 pilot, Count Dooku, a.k.a. Darth Tyrannis, also I3. So he is a Force pilot, so he has 3 Force points. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, I remember that a lot of people were like, ooh, 3 Force, it's so exclusive, because it was just Darth Vader, I think, in the initial block of factions, and then as the conversion kits came, it's like, oh, Kylo's got 3 Force pips. And then now it's like, oh, everybody's got 3 fucking Force pips. Jedi Master's got 3 Force pips. Everybody got 3 Force. That makes sense, though, that, like, there's a lot of, a lot of this power floating around in these prequel factions who are much more experienced and well-versed in this sort of thing. And for instance, if Emperor Palpatine had a card, like as a pilot card, I would expect him to have also been 3. I think a lot of people are just because Luke is only 2, but it's important to remember that's Luke is Red 5, so that's, at the end of the first movie. Anyway, Count Dooku's ability reads, after you defend, if the attacker is in your firing arc, you may spend 1 Force point to remove one of your blue or red tokens. After you perform an attack that hits, you may spend 1 Force point to perform an action. These are 2 separate clauses, so you can do both. So, let me double-check what red tokens are really quick. But the thing you want to know about blue tokens is I'm pretty sure at the moment that's only Cloak. Which means that you are almost assuredly... Yeah, so currently the only blue token is Cloak. Red tokens are Ion, Lock, Strain, or Stress. And remember, Strain is that new thing that's happening in this. So, now, this is after you defend, so this is no good if they already have a lock on you. But if you, say, picked up an Ion attack, when you were attacked by something, like somebody got you with an Ion missile or a cannon, you're like, I don't want to be Ioned. You can ditch that. You can also use it as an excuse to drop Strain or Stress if you pick it up. Most importantly, though, like I said, the only blue token that there is right now is Cloak. So, hey, if somebody in the higher I order is shooting at you even though you're cloaked, you can be like, and now I spend a Force pip, and I am decloaked, and you're in my firing arc because that's the rule. That can turn into a really nasty surprise, right? Like somebody takes a pot shot at you while you've got 3 agility, and you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to shave off this Force point, and now I can shoot you. Hey, sucks to be you. And then after you perform an attack that hits, you can spend a point to perform an action. Hey, Gala G. Willikers, I wonder if you could use that to perform a red cloak action on the Scimitar. Yes, you can. So basically, Dooku has a very limited form, and probably a very costly form at a 3 Force point character, version of the TIE Phantom's old ability to cloak, only you can only put it on one guy, because it's a unique pilot and a unique title. And it costs his Force resources. So if you want to use Force talents, it's going to cost you. If you want to use Force points for modifications, because looking at the spread, I don't think I see any like systems in here. It looks mostly like you're going to be relying on Force talents for modification. So you're going to spend those 3 Force pips you get a lot. And remember, you only regain 1, so if you do this on one turn, you're like, you shot at me, decloak, shoot you. And then you recloak, that's 2. Next turn, you have 2 tokens. You do that, you can't do that the 3rd turn in a row. Also important to note that you can't force this if nobody's shooting at you. So I do actually like the design for this. It's really interesting. The cloaking and decloaking is obviously the thing they want you to do here, but you can do some other shenanigans, like I said, like you could ditch after you get attacked, and if you're still safely cloaked, but you're like, oh, I picked up an ion or something, you can shed extra ion tokens you want to worry about. You can use it to de-stress, stuff like that. Very interesting, very fun. I like Count Dooku a lot. And to round out our pilots that are revealed in that article, we have the D-Maul, the Darth Maul. And yes, this is back in his Darth Maul days. Sith Assassin, unique Darth Maul, I-5. Also has 3 Force points. Once again, showing you that 3 Force pips will be a luxury available to lots of prequel-era pilots. And, yeah, so his ability reads, it's pretty simple. After you perform an attack, you may spend 2 Force points to perform a bonus primary attack against a different target. If your attack missed, you may perform that bonus attack against the same target instead. So for 2 Force points, he's got, he's either got Gunner or some other stuff that I don't remember. There's totally a 1E thing that lets you shoot if you miss somebody. Was that just Baze? I don't know. Anyway, there's a couple of crew cards this ability mimics, but it obviously takes 2 Force points. So now obviously once again similar to the Count Dooku Wombo combo of the decloak, shoot, cloak. This means you can only do it 2 turns in a row, then you gotta wait a turn. So it's not, it's not a great thing. It's like that one, at least one scum pilot who's got 3 charges on their pilot ability, and it takes all 3 charges, but they recover, so you can only do it like once every 3 turns. Interesting effects like that. And this also assumes that you're not using his things to mod these dice, but that means you got to think about stuff when Darth Maul's shooting at you, because you got to think to yourself, okay, he's got enough Force points. He can double tap if he wants, so he could waste an attack on one target. You could deliberately throw your dice and just hope for naturals or whatever, and that your opponent has to spend resources to defend. Then you shoot them with your second shot if it missed, and go in for the all-out attack. That's a classic gunner move from 1E. But obviously, one at I-5 and with 3 Force points, Darth Maul's going to be hella expensive, even if they've been tuning those down a little. I'm sure that he's going to start very costly. And you have to remember that means you got to keep this thing on target with 2 people. And now at an I-5 and you do have a barrel roll, that's not unheard of, but it is also not necessarily a super maneuverable ship, right? You've got, just your... mostly your basic bitch maneuvers. Most of which are white. I mean, you get a decent spread of blues, but then you're mostly like, forwards or banks in this, large base. So you have a little bit of an issue swinging the nose around in this thing. Like if you want to make tight turns to keep on target, those turns are red. Though obviously you do have some fun wombos with dropping like a T-roll or a K turnaround. But I just think that this, because of this thing's size, it's going to be a little ungainly. It might be hard if you're chasing lots of aspects to like get targets on 2 people. The only advantage is obviously being on a large base, you have a larger firing area in your arcs. So we'll see. We'll see if those things cancel out. Otherwise, super fun ability and like I said, I think it's much more balanced than just being automatic, because it's requires Force points, so you can only do it so many times in a row, because you only get 1 back per turn. Well, with pilots out of the way, and creeping up on 20 minutes of audio recording anyway, let's go ahead and jump into upgrades. That'll be one slide, but we're going to talk about a lot of stuff at once, so it's going to be a while. Alright, so my great big slide of crew upgrades. And now, obviously, I could have done this as multiple slides that we could, talk through them at once, but that would just been a lot of extra assets that I don't need, and complication. So, there's several crew upgrades in this thing that are, very interesting to see, and probably expensive, some of them, because there's some with Force pips, but we'll cover them all. And I say there's 3, even though you see 4 images here, because one is obviously a dual-sided card. So, I guess we'll cover them in the order that I laid them out, because that's, I guess, not really sure why that's the order that things showed up, but that's what we got. So, General Grievous, unique. This obviously means you can't use his Belab in there. But he reads, while you defend, after the neutralize results step, if there are 2 or more hit-crit results, you may spend 1 charge to cancel 1 hit or crit result. After a friendly ship is destroyed, recover 1 charge. So basically, if you get to the neutralize result steps, if there are hits or crits left over after you've rolled evades and everything, you can spend the 1 charge on this card to only take 1 damage instead of 2. And it says, but note, by the way, you can cancel 1 hit or crit result. So, if there's 1 hit and 1 crit result and you're just down to hull, you can be like, I don't want to take that crit. So that's at least as far as I understand this card. That's pretty flexible, and of course it has a recharge option after a friendly ship is destroyed, regardless of range. Recover this one. So, gotta be honest, I'm not 100% sure on how you'd apply this to the Scimitar. I guess maybe on, like, Big Daddy Darth Maul, or maybe a Count Dooku run, where you bring General Grievous onto your boat, and that's your way to make your medium, not super high, but medium amount of HP last longer, or maybe get some crit mitigation, and then the rest of your list is just ultra cheap Voltra droids to give you excuses to recharge General Grievous's ability and, just do blockers and harassers. This may find a place on other ships in the Separatist markup, but I don't necessarily know if, especially compared to, like, Solus 1 and Impervium Plating and stuff, if this is better than just flying Grievous in his Bellab. Dunno, because remember that, unlike even if Grievous is cheap point-wise, he comes with a whole ship attached. So, but it is a fun thing in your kit, and it definitely, kind of fits General Grievous's, like, oh, I'll get away by just a little bit. Let's talk about Count Dooku, then. He's also unique. He's a Separatist-only crew. He adds 1 force point, which recovers. Before a ship at range 0 to 2 rolls attack or defense dice, if all of your force points are active, so you can't have spent any, this, I think, prevents him from being wombo-comboed with, like, Maul, because then with Maul you're really tempted to spend his pips. But it's after they roll attack or defense dice, if all of your force tokens are active, you may spend 1 force point and name a result. If the die roll does not contain the name result, the ship must change 1 die to that result. So this is kind of like Papa Palpatine's old ability. Actually, let me double check. What does the current version of Emperor Palpatine do? Yeah, so the current version of Emperor Palpatine is 2 crew slots. He adds +1 force, and he has the ability to, when a friendly ship performs an attack, you can spend a force point to basically spend a force point on that, as if that ship had spent a force point. So he is still his rangeless mods, but it's much simpler to just be like, exit the force from way over here. Count Dooku is 0 to 2, and he's basically an insurance policy. You spend a pip, and you're like, so for attacking, obviously, what you probably want to do is say crit. You spend a force point, you name crit. If the roll doesn't contain a crit, you must that ship must change 1 die result to crit. With defense dice, you want to name an evade. You want to be like, or rather not evade, you want to name blank, and just be like, roll blanks. You can also do this on an attack. You can be like blank. You can make them blank at least 1 of their dice. Good as a last minute, like, a defense limiter. I don't think as far as defensive goes, if it's as good as Grievous's ability, to be like, oh, and you roll. And I'd want to double check when the timing of this applies to when that roll doesn't contain the result. Is that, like, after all the modifications? So, like, after they spend focus, could you say, name a focus result and be like, and take that back down to focus? Also, it says the ship, so that means they get to pick, so they get, if you say on attack rolls you name blank and they roll, crit hit, they only have to, I assume, get to choose 1 of the hits to switch to a blank, and they get to keep the crit hit. Yeah, I don't know. Count Dooku's kind of, like, weirdly limited. I think he's going to be fun, but I don't think he's, like, okay, I'll say this. I'll phrase it as this. I think in, like, ultra casual, low-level play, he's super fun to try and just be like, I can change the dice results to, whatever. And I think at ultra high-level play, if you're very skilled, there's some high-level mind game shit you can pull off with this guy. For most of that medium range of play, where you're playing, you're playing a little bit seriously, you want a list that kind of clicks together, but you're not necessarily playing the 4D chess 5 moves ahead of time, I don't know if Dooku's for you. He seems entertaining, but actually making him do something impressive, especially considering, like I said, upgrades that give you more force are usually pretty expensive. So, I don't know. And he's range limited, also. But he's a decent way to prevent an attack roll from blanking out or something. You can use him strategically if your opponent is rolling small dice pools. Like, say you're shooting a ship on a scimitar, and you're shooting them, you're firing some big boy dice with maybe like a proton torp or something, and they've only got one evade. You can totally call blank on that roll, and they roll it. Oh, they got one evade. They've only got one die. They have to switch it to a blank now. Womp womp. But if they're rolling lots of dice, it's not very useful. So you have to use it strategically. And like I said, I don't know. Spend a force point to fish for crits could be worth it. It's an interesting tool in the toolkit. Now let's talk about Chancellor Palpatine and Darth Sidious. So the Chancellor Palpatine side is unique. Republic or Separatist. I love this mechanic, by the way. It's hilarious. Equip this side face up. After you defend, if the attacker is at range 0 to 2, you may spend 1 force point. If you do, the attacker gains 1 stress token. During the end phase, you may flip this card, and it gives you +1 force point and a purple coordinate. Which is good, because he's doing that battle meditation. So this is super funny. We'll talk about this face. So this works for Republic or Separatist, and I believe that we've already spotted that Chancellor Palpatine / Sidious is coming in the arc for Republic, so if you're a Republic player, don't worry about having to buy Separatist to get him. Both factions will have access to both sides of these cards, which is hilarious. This is next level, trust no one, not even yourself shit. Like, you thought Scum Fenrau versus Rebel Fenrau was nuts. I love this, just on a thematic scale, okay? But what does he actually do? So after you defend, if your attacker is up close, range 0 to 2, you can spend a force pip to give him a stress token. That's okay. That's not perfect for all those effects. Honestly, you may want to pay this just to get the purple coordinate, and get the force point, Could be helpful. So yeah, I don't know if it's super scary. That said, if you put it on like a Dooku or a Maul, that's more force points you can use, and then you can get more mods, and also you can be like, and take a stress. So let's flip that card. 'Tis treason then, he says, and he becomes Darth Sidious. Remember, during the end phase, you can flip, but set up you have to equip it face up, in case you forgot that. So Darth Sidious reads, after you perform a purple coordinate action, the ship you coordinated gains 1 stress token, then it gains 1 focus token, or recovers 1 force pip. That's fucking phenomenal. So that's, you take a stress, but you either gain a focus, so if you're not a force-using one, you can be like, herder. You gain a focus. Also, by the way, I'm pretty sure that means you can give droids focus tokens, which is pretty cool, because they're not immune to force pips or whatever. Unless there's a secret RRG rule that I don't remember, where it's like, anytime no, that can't be it, because Guri can get focus tokens. That's interesting. But yeah, I was about to say, unless there's some kind of like secret rule that anytime a pilot who's a droid with a calculate token would get assigned a focus token, they turn into a calculate. No, so you can give droids focus tokens, which is cool beans. Or you can use it on clones. Or you can buff force powers. You can give them force points back if they take a stress. Considering we talked about how some of those Jedi ships are a little bit more flexible, like not perfect, but a little bit of flexible, that's pretty great. Not gonna lie. I think the regain of force token is more useful to the Republic, because they'll have generic force users, but also they'll have, more broad force users, in general, as opposed to, Separatists, who I think you're, with Maul and Dooku in this boat, you're looking at all of your force-using options, unless there are upgrades. And I don't know off the top of my head if there's going to be, because what do we got for Separatists? You got the Scimitar, you got the Belab, you got the Vulture, and the Hyena. So I think out of those, only the Sith Infiltrator, the Scimitar, has crew slots. Or should. We'll see. But yeah, so at the moment, it's not that side isn't super useful for the force power, but you can totally throw this on, like I said, like throw it on Maul or Dooku if you're a Separatist, and hand out force tokens and coordinate actions, and you get extra force. You get 4 force. Force. The fourth force. We'll stop making 4 and force puns. But yeah, so I really like Sidious. I expect he'll be expensive, because he's got some utility. Also, keep in mind, you can't You can't ever undo that do. When he reveals that he's Darth Sidious, it's done. It's donezo. You can't flip back. Still, for the purple coordinate, the +1 force point, and they've got a couple. Either side has some interesting abilities. I think they're good. Honestly, thinking about it, like the Count Dooku pilot, if you're gonna put this on there, you're gonna want to flip off Palpatine as soon as possible. You don't want to disincentivize people shooting at you as Dooku, because I assume you're trying to do the combo we mentioned where you try and get them to shoot at you, so you can, while you're cloaked, so you can decloak, and then you shoot at them and recloak, you know? But still, an interesting option. You may just, like I said, for the purple coordinate, you may just run this on, like, Dark Courier. Alright, that's all the crew upgrades. Let's talk about another couple of upgrades in this pack here. So now, after taking way too long to talk about those 3 upgrade cards, let's mention 2 more cards real quick. Got some other upgrades in here. They previewed Hate, which previously appeared in the First Order conversion kit, but obviously now will be available in Wave 3 in regular, limited formats, in addition to obviously being available to anybody who wanted to buy a conversion kit. It will also be available again in the Silencer pack in Wave 4, apparently, judging by, like, spread look, but mostly, if you're talking about making it accessible to the general release public, it'll be in this pack. For the moment, Empire players, you'll just have to suck it up because there's no way for you to get it, but I'm sure you will eventually. Just a quick recap, Hate means that after you suffer 1 or more damage, recover that many force points. I mean, I think that's great for Maul. For Dooku, I mean, you ideally don't want to be hit, but I guess it could massage out. But, like I said, as a dark side upgrade, it's pretty decent. You'll find it goes a couple of places. It can go on some slots on the Scimitar. That's fine. We also have the unique K2B4. Do we even have a name for this slot yet? The tactical... Is it just tactical droid slot? I feel like I've seen a million of these already, and because they're all just names that start with K, and the same droid in slightly different color schemes each time, it's really hard to differentiate them. Okay, tactical relay upgrade. That's right, so they're tactical relay upgrades, even though they're all tactical droids. And they're solitary upgrades, which if I remember rightly, you have... Oh, one of them is T. That's good. Okay, maybe I'll learn. If I remember rightly, though, the solitary thing means that one of them has to be... You can only have one of this upgrade type at all in your list, the tactical relay. Remembering that right? Hold on, let me double check, since I'm looking stuff up. Okay, no, so we don't have there's not, like, a wiki definition. I'd have to, like, hunt through the articles. Anyway, that's what I think it does. Not sure. There's besides just being unique, there's other limits. Where was I? I need to get back on my assets. So, this is K2B4. I don't remember if he was a guy in the Clone Wars or whatever, that he did stuff. He's purple and yellow, whatever. Anyway, Separatist, solitary, unique. While a friendly ship at range 0 to 3 defends, so it also includes the ship this is on, it may spend 1 calculate token. If it does, add 1 evade result unless the attacker chooses to gain 1 strain token. So basically, you get super calculate on defense. You can spend it to add add straight up an evade result. Not change to an evade result, add an evade result like an old evade token. Unless the attacker chooses to gain 1 strain. And strain is kind of like stress in that you remove it by doing blue moves. And it reduces your agility. Does strain do anything else? Yeah, you roll 1 fewer defense die, and it's removed when either after you have defended or by executing a blue maneuver. So there are going to be some ships who are going to hate strain. They don't have a lot of blues, or they really can't afford to roll 1 less dice when defending. So you're going to get that evade result. Other cases, there will be people, like for instance, if you're in a mirror match, and you're fighting, say, like a Count Dooku Scimitar setup. He's decloaked, he's going to shoot you, he's going to recloak, assuming he hits. And he's going to be like, no, I want to hit you so I can recloak. I'll take the strain token because I'll roll, 3 defense. I'll only roll 2 defense die, and I might get a blue move in before I get shot and move on, So there'll be some cases where ships will just take it. They really don't want to miss whatever they're doing. And they can afford to take the strain, but otherwise, yeah, handy. Alright, well, in a discussion that will undoubtedly make this video, like, 40 minutes, let's move into the final slide, the probe droid upgrade. So, this is a unique upgrade. It's a device slot. They're not bombs anymore, they're devices. And this is the DRK-1, the Dark One, probe droids. Sometimes I forget how punny and dumb Star Wars is. So, as an upgrade, it's unique. It's a separatist-only upgrade that goes in your devices slot. So, the Hyena can take this, and also, obviously, this means that, yes, the Sith Infiltrator can probably drop bombs. And it's got 2 charges. During the end phase, you may spend 1 charge to drop or launch, so you can shoot it front or back. 1 DRK-1 probe droid using a speed 3 template. This card's charge cannot be recovered. So you get 2 probe droids. I don't know if they give you enough probe droid cards and tokens in the pack. I don't know. There might be like a rules insert. This is like you can only have 1 probe droid at a time, but they're not unique or limited themselves. They're I-0. They're Dark One probe droids. And basically, they come with a little remote card, so I guess remotes are a thing now. There'll probably be more rules on remotes then. But while the friendly ship locks on an object or jams an enemy ship, it may measure range from you, so that really improves jam. Remember, we talked about how jam's kind of rangey limited. So this means that they can measure anything at range 1 from you. After an enemy ship overlaps you, that ship rolls 1 attack die. On a focus result, you suffer 1 damage, which because you have 1 hull means you're donezo. Systems phase, at your initiative, so 0. During the system phase, you may relocate using a 2-turn, or 2 bank templates, I should say, or 2 straight templates. Judging by the design of the token, it's pentagonal, and it's got like 4 slots for maneuver templates. I think that means that you can scooch that in any direction. That's why it's relocate. So that'll probably be also like rules updates and stuff. It's got 3 agility. It's got no attack, so maybe they'll be attacking remotes later. Maybe that'll be how we handle buzz droids. We got Discord missiles coming somewhere. But they have 1 hull, so obviously I'm pretty sure you can shoot them, and they have 3 agility. But they only basically allow you to lock or jam enemy ships at extra range, and they can be run over. It's an interesting concept. I love that they're doing it. I love that they're not doing it too huge. Like, this is very helpful, but it's not crazy helpful, right? Like, it extends your jam range a little bit. It extends your lock-on flexibility. But they're pretty easy to get rid of. Just run them over a few times and hope for a focus or whatever. Or just shoot them. Since they got 3 agility, but only 1 hull, if you get a good shot. You got nothing else to shoot at. So yeah, I think this is interesting. I'd love to see more about remotes in the rules. This is an interesting beginning to hopefully future upgrades and stuff. We will see. And obviously it works best, I think. Well, I don't know if it works best on the Scimitar. It might also work on the Hyena if they're going to be shooting torps or missiles. But yeah, so it's super fun, I think, because of the Scimitar, and specifically the Scimitar, because that improves your jam range a little bit. Very fun. Lots of jamming and debuffing. I expect you're going to see, like we said, you're basically going to see the Scimitar in a Lambda-type slot, where it'll be a support boat with title, probably with probe droids, and, whichever pilot you like, or crew, and basically supporting loads of vultures or hyenas, trying to huck as many dice as you can. Alright, so that is everything there is about the Sith Infiltrator, aka the Scimitar expansion pack. You got pilots, crew, all that jazz, upgrades. Sorry that took so long, everybody, but we had some dense topics to cover. Lots of big things to do when talking about a ship and its upgrades all at once, especially in these big boy boxes, like you can see on your screen right now. I'll go ahead and let you guys go. I won't keep it too much longer. Stay posted for more X-Wing news, stay posted for more Legion news. That's not the news about the exclusive Darth Vader sculpt. Yes, that happened today, and people are butthurt over nothing, but whatever. I have already come to accept that there's physical pain that comes from not being able to go to everything, and you just have to accept that about life. Anyway, X-Wing stuff. I don't know if I'll get to more L5R video. Listen, I really want to do another L5R video essay, but I just don't have time right now. I'm doing too much stuff. So I'll hope to get to that, and I'll keep you guys apprised. And for the love of God, that Rise of the Separatist book should be out sometime, right? Who knows? Anyway, I'll see you guys in whatever the next video is. Don't forget to like this video if you like it. Leave any comments you have in the comment section down below. Consider joining our Discord. That link is in the description. And of course, if you're new here and have not already, please subscribe to the channel so you can always get our latest videos. And think about hitting that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video exactly. You'll get a little alert. You don't gotta check your sub feed. And sometimes YouTube is weird. And of course, like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early. It really helps us out. And keeps us going, keeps us motivated. We're at almost $200. Crazy. It's nuts. Anyway, Like I said, see you guys next video. Happy flying, everybody. And as always, thank you for your time.